Hello, what's up, my dudes? So, I finally beat Elden Ring. 2 years late. I know, a little bit slow, but that's besides the point. And I'm gonna be moving on to DLC now. But before that happens, I wanted to just give a vibe check or a aura rating for each of the bosses that you encounter in the base game. So let's do that right now. I mean, when it comes to presence, you definitely have to admit that Margit is very much dripping in it. Like he's genuinely like the very first skill check that you run into, and unless you're related to Let Me Sola Her, there is almost no chance that you're gonna be able to just waltz up into his castle and beat him within like the very first 20 minutes of you even attempting. The fight is like actually really cool, but that second phase is literally a punch in the face when she brings out that hammer to anybody who even had the slightest hint of beating him in like the very first run. Like you could technically just tank through the very first half of the fight with like your little wolves and dodging well, but if you're a low level, there's almost no chance that you're surviving that second part unless you're actually like pretty good, and most players are not. It's literally just a humble check to see if you're willing to just give up and go walk around him and get some levels and then come back. Because you're supposed to be level 25 to 30 to fight him, and you can honestly just waltz up in there at level 7, which I feel like they did that on purpose. Interesting that they did it for the very first boss, but it's still kind of funny. But no, it's definitely a very, very cool choice for the first boss of the game. I'd give him presence check, aura check, 7.8 out of 10. I just wonder how many new players just straight up stopped playing Elden Ring just because of him, and they couldn't bear the thought of just not walking away, so they just stopped playing the game entirely. All right, Godric. In my opinion, he was actually like the first boss that you run into where you actually get a good grasp of how messed up the Elden Ring universe is. Cause don't get me wrong, Margot's like a pretty weird looking dude, but until like Godric just takes off his cloak and you see just all of the body parts just like stitched onto him, it's really like just hits you like whoa, there this place ain't that right, and it really like sets you up for the world of like disgust and just hurt that's gonna come towards you later on in the game. Not to mention that second phase cutscene was insane. I love that cutscene so much. The man literally just like cut off a dragon's head and attached it to his hand, like in real time. That it was up there for me. It's up there for me as one of my favorite cutscenes in the whole game. I'm not gonna lie though, when I first went into the fight, I was expecting it to be a lot harder than Margit because I didn't at the time. You don't realize that Margit is just a skill check. So I got through the fight a lot faster than I did with Margit, and honestly, I don't think that takes away from the quality of the boss fight at all. It was just surprising to me, and I wanted to mention it. So, aura points, I'm gonna give him a solid 8.2 out of 10. I think he deserves it. Honestly, for the Red Wolf, I thought he was kind of a pretty mid boss, to be honest with you. It just seems like a regular dungeon boss that you would just stumble upon if you went into a cave or something. I wouldn't even really consider him a main boss. I'm just adding him because he's one of the required bosses to beat the game. So I think he still deserves a spot here. It's just like he wasn't that cool. I did think it was kind of annoying how kind of tightish that area was, and he had a giant sword that he just bulldozes into you with. So it was a bit bothersome until I got my mimic tier, and then I steamrolled him. Overall, though, I thought he was annoying, but he not a lot of aura with him. I give him a 2 out of 10. Really cool design though. Fun fact though, if you consider the fact that this is Radagon's pet wolf and that it's in Renala's study, would that mean that when Renala and Radagon broke up, she kept his pet? Me personally, I wouldn't stand for that, but whatever. Renala is definitely gives off the vibe of that girl from high school that just wouldn't give you the time of the day. She definitely is drippy though. I'll give her that. But definitely, I'm better than you attitude just coming off of her vibes. I was kind of a bit disappointed by the boss fight though. I think I could have probably done that if I was like level 3. But whatever. It's still very cool visuals, and just the area in general was cool. So I think it doesn't really take away from the fact that she's a super easy fight. And I was not expecting her to become a merchant afterwards. That threw me off a little bit. I thought we were gonna straight up kill her, but whatever. And to be honest with you, I'm a bit of a sucker for just wizardy themes in general. So I'm gonna give her a bit of a higher rating than a lot of y'all might give her. So I'm going with that 8 out of 10 just because I like the whole setting and her drip. Might be worth less, but that's what I'm giving her. To be fair though, it would have been a 9 out of 10, but I cannot stand that freaking like helmet or hat. I don't even know what that is. I can't stand that thing on the top of her head. Why is it like this? Okay, who wears a hat like that? Literally, if you from here down, absolute fire drip. Here up is disgusting. You could literally just use your head to go freaking like ice wall climbing. Just use that as a freaking ice pick and just climb up the wall. I think it definitely adds character, right? Because she's like, in general, like her face design is really pretty. I think they had to break it up too much, otherwise, there'd be way too many freaking simps in the game for her. So I kind of understand why they did it. Okay, the big snake boy, Rykard. So I'm not gonna lie though, the overall area that he's in, and then his little cult and his castle and everything, I really liked a lot. And not to mention that second phase cutscene, bro. It's my favorite cutscene in the game. Like he pulled an Orochimaru. He just pulled a freaking sword out of a snake's mouth, but he did it so cool. It was so cool. And it's my favorite weapon in the game because I am in fact a blasphemous blade wielder. Leave me alone. I know it is kind of cheesy, but it's literally the strongest thing in the game right now. Base game right now. Like without a doubt, I think when it comes to Aura, he's definitely up there. Like if it wasn't for his voice, I would give him a solid 10, but it just can't get over how he sounds.
Join myself and King as family. Together we will devour the very core.
He sounds like a simp stuck in a freaking giant snake's body. The man sounds he looks so cool, but then he sounds like he'd be scared to speak to a woman, if you know what I mean. It's just why do you sound like that, you know? Also, I thought it was very interesting that they had his own boss fight specific weapon. And I was so offended after I beat him and I went outside with the serpent hunter and I tried to do something and then the giant air spear thing didn't happen. I was like beyond disappointed because it was so cool. Well, I understand why it's not in the game, but at least like give it to me as like a I don't know, Ash of War or something. Whatever. He's really cool though. Really cool boss. General Radon. That's my man right there, man. He is, in my opinion, the biggest badass in this entire game. Like if you gotta talk about aura, he's gotta be at the very top of most people's lists. Which, I mean, simply just boils down to the fact that he's just so freaking massive and imposing and scary looking. The first time I fought him, I didn't even realize that there was summoning sigils on the floor because I was a little bit too carried away by the giant man in the distance shooting arrows at me. And then I died and then I came back and I actually like looked around for once. I was like, wait, there's people here. And then we jumped him, but still. I feel like in a one-on-one, he is an actual demon to fight, and he's so cool looking. Like without a doubt, one of the most memorable bosses in the entire game. Not to mention the very first cutscene of the game, where like he just like gets freaking the bloom comes out of him while he's fighting Melania. It's so awesome. And also, side note, I'm a very staunch believer in the fact that Radon is the strongest demigod in the game. Canonically, of course, not like boss fight. Simply because like a lot of people are gonna say that Melania basically like made him go crazy, but the entire time that fight was happening, he was running her shit. The only reason he lost was because she literally threw AIDS at him. So I'm a strong believer that Radon is the biggest badass in the game. So yeah, that's Radon, my favorite boss. He gets a 10.1 out of 10. Now that extra point one comes from the fact that even though he was going absolutely batshit crazy from the Scarlet Rot, he still cared enough about his horse to keep his gravitational magic going so he wouldn't just crush the horse under him, because he's a big boy. I almost shed a tear the first time I heard that, by the way. It was very sad. That's my man right there. I love him so much. Morgoth, I feel like, I mean, like, it's an alright fight. He had a really cool cutscene and everything. It just kind of felt like I was fighting Margit again. Like, the coolness just wasn't really there for me simply because it just felt like we were fighting a guy the second time. And it might be decisive, but I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10. I'm going to give him a 5.5 out of 10 simply because his dialogue tree was pretty cool. Just give him a little bit of a bump. But overall, I still think he's pretty mid. I'm not going to hold you. This fat fucking ginger, ugly, big ass fucking fat stomach piece of shit, bro. I swear to God. This man right here, if there's no single fire giant hater in the world, then I never existed because I hate this man so much. He's the only boss that has gotten me to the brink of tears. I didn't cry, but I was very close. I was so frustrated, bro. I was I was gripping my controller to the point where I thought I was gonna break it. It was concerning. Like, explain to me how I'm supposed to freaking dodge an attack when the most I could see of a man is literally this. Like, how am I supposed to see when a freaking punch is gonna come in? You don't see anything. Like, I'm, bro. I literally have ankle vision the entire time. All you're seeing is just his foot the entire time. How am I supposed to see if he's gonna swing something at me? Makes no sense. And also, literally, if you do like a tenth of his damage, the man will just roll. It's just gone out of the way. Bro. And then you have to run for like a minute straight just to catch up to him. It makes no sense. I hate him. Horrible boss design. Ugly ass fucking boss to begin with. To be fair, there is a certain coolness to it that he possesses because in a way he's like the last giant and he's protecting this fire thing and he's just like this lone monolith is just freaking stumbling around this empty battleground. It is cool and all, but you can't be that cool when you have a freaking broken toe. And whenever you're almost about to die, you just start freaking throwing ass at everybody, okay? It doesn't make any sense. Very annoying. Very difficult. Not a lot of aura, to be honest with you. I'm gonna give him a 6 out of 10. Fuck. Alright. The Godskin duo. I'm I don't know. I didn't really feel too hyped when they showed up. It might mainly because we fought them individually beforehand, so it kind of took away a lot of the coolness to the fight, if you ask me. Um, like the only scary thing about them is probably the fat one where he rolls at you, but you could just use your mimic tier just to separate them anyways, and it just kind of feels like you're fighting them individually. I don't know. I'm gonna give him like a 4 out of 10 just because I really wasn't that impressed when the entire fight happened. And I wasn't stressing at all, to be honest with you. It was just like a regular old fight. I was expecting them. I feel like if they upped the damage a little bit, it would be more of like a dodging skill check. But you could still kind of tank them and just pop a bunch of heals and just tank through it, kill both of them because they don't have like a lot of health, to be honest with you. Whatever, whatever. I'm rambling. They're alright. They're worse than alright. I gave them a 4 out of 10. I'm not gonna lie. This dude straight up shocked me when I saw his first phase, because he was dressed like a hobo the entire time you were fighting him, and the first half of his fight. So he went from like literally, can I have a penny, to the one of the most dripped out motherfuckers in the entire game. Also, not to mention his line
Oh, death. Become my blade once more.
was just iconic. In my opinion, like top 3 lines in the entire game whatsoever. Plus, I'm not gonna lie, like the whole boss area leading up to him, like fallen, like crumbling Fair Missoula, and just the entire theme of his area is it's awesome. So I'm gonna give him like a very strong 9.4 out of 10. Also, it's not even just that though. I loved his move set, the way he would just like jump around and just make a giant freaking dash at you and just shoot out destined death in your direction. Kind of annoying, by the way. I don't know. It comes at you so fast. It gets to a point where it's a little bit overwhelming. But I think that just adds to like the charm of his boss fight in general, you know? Like if he wasn't as fast or is intimidating, I don't think it would really allow him to live up to what he is, which is like the person Queen America trusts to hold death and death, like the one thing she wants kept away from the public, you know? Also, that boy had that shit on, bro. That outfit, man. Like it looks awesome on like the tarnished itself, but on him, oh, I just oh my god, bro, he looks so awesome. Honestly, I didn't really talk to this man that much at the round table hold, so when I just stumbled upon him like at the end of the game, I was so confused as to what was happening. Because even when I did speak to him, I didn't really read his dialogue. So my man just wanted to throw hands, and I was like, I'll abide you, but I don't know why you want this to happen. I thought you were my friend. I thought we were all friends here. And also, by throw hands, I mean me dog walking him because he had barely any health, and it was just kind of like fighting an invader. Wasn't even really much of a boss fight, I'd say. But whatever. That man was talking hella shit at the end there too. So
A tarnished cannot become a lord. Not even you.
I had no problems in fighting his ass. But not even fight. I had no problems beating his ass. I'd give him like a 3 out of 10. I didn't even have a second phase. I barely even consider this a boss fight. Like I wouldn't even put him in a dungeon. Like he's just one of those dudes you'd run around in a field and find. He had a really cool drip though. I didn't wear it, but it's in my inventory and it's there. Honestly, I feel like Godfrey's cutscenes were way cooler than the actual fight with him. Don't get me wrong, he seems like really cool and intimidating in his cutscenes, and then you actually get to fight him, and it turns out he's just a big old dude with an axe. And his second cutscene is just he's like a very bloody dude that comes at you and punches you. So like there's a level of intimidation that's there, but he just seems so like a clunky when you're fighting him. Well, people might disagree with me here, but that's just how I felt when I fought him. It just kind of like seems like I was just fighting like a freaking troll or something. Like it was literally like I was fighting a giant, like the troll from Harry Potter. That's what I felt like I was going up against here. I just had to just keep dodging because he had such big AOE, but he really wasn't that cool, if I'm being honest with you. I will say though, the fact that he is the very first Elden Lord is something like I appreciate the game allowing you to do as a fight, because it like it makes the world and your goal seem one like not impossible or unrealistic, and it also like lends credence and gives like a power gauge to what you're actually trying to be, because that's the like he's what we're trying to ascend to, and having the ability to like gauge where we're at in comparison to him and actually beat him is, I think it's a good way to add perspective as to how much you've grown since the beginning of the game. I thought he would have had like way cool. Sorry, tangent, but I thought he would have had like way cooler movesets after he sacrificed the giant freaking lion on his shoulder, but no. I mean, just started swinging. I'm gonna give him like a 6 out of 10. I feel like visually or like I don't know, appearance wise, could have been better. To be honest with you, I didn't really like the Radagon portion of the fight, but like let me tell you, man, when I first saw the Elden Beast show up, like I was blown away by just how pretty the boss was, and then just like the arena that you were in, like fighting him, like the giant puddle thing. I don't know. I always liked that. I always liked that arena style. I will say though, I thought the Elden Beast was just gonna be a little bit bigger. I think the fight itself was pretty cool, and it wasn't a super hard fight, but I think it was a good conclusion to the story, and it wasn't difficult to the point where you'd be just banging your head against the wall until you finally beat the Elden Beast, to the point where you don't even care about the storyline anymore. That's how I felt about the Fire Giant, by the way. Um, actually, side note, I wanted to do the Frenzied Flame ending just because I thought it looked the coolest. But literally right after I finally beat the fire giant for the very first time, my brain was just on autopilot, and I just walked straight up to that fire and I just talked to Melina and didn't realize that was the point where you were supposed to stop and then go do the frenzied flame part. So I brain deadedly just trudged through her like little audio, and until she stood up and started burning, I didn't realize that like, oh wait, I was supposed to do something there. Like that's what I'm trying to say. The fight wasn't like difficult to the point where by the time you were done, you didn't even care what was happening with the story anymore, which I appreciate. For Radagon, I'm gonna give him a 3 out of 10, which might be kind of harsh, but I feel like there was really no presence to the dude. It kind of just felt we were just fighting a man, just a random man with a hammer that threw light at you. I don't know. To be fair, it was his first. It was the first part of the fight, so I understand that you can't make him go too crazy, but still, he's the second Elden Lord, man. At least give him cooler move sets, or make it look cooler move sets. Now, with that being said, though, the Elden Beast, man, I'm gonna give him an 8.5 out of 10. That's just because I thought he was like such a cool looking enemy, man. Ugh, he was so awesome. And then just the way he moves, like that one move where he literally just starts like like swimming in the air, and like he goes around you and then he starts shooting light at you. It's so it makes it seem like you're literally just invading his area, like his domain, and then you're just fighting him where he's the strongest and he has the most control of everything, and you somehow manage to beat him. I don't know, it's just a really good way to make you feel like you're the hero of the story, you know? Like, I'm not even gonna hold y'all, man. The first time I fought her, I got straight up speed blitzed and evaporated. Like I wasn't expecting her to just fly at me like that, and like just watching gameplay doesn't really do it justice by how just like quick her movements are. And it's like after you've finally experienced the waterfowl dance for the first time, I think it becomes a lot easier to understand why she has the reputation that she does. Cause that move is so fucking annoying. I'm not gonna lie. Honestly though, I kind of feel like the external hype to fight her is way bigger than anything that you're gonna see in game. Because I got to the end of the game and I still didn't even know how to get to her to her Halleck tree. So I was surprised. I had to look up a guide on how to get to her. It turned out I went to the area and then just didn't do like the little side quest to gain access to her area. So I don't know, man. I feel like for her being like the figurehead of the game, you'd think it'd be a little bit easier to find her, but it was whatever. Also, her design, chef's kiss, bro. She looks so freaking cool. Without question, man. She's probably one of the coolest looking bosses in the game. And I also appreciate the fact that she's not like absolutely gigantic compared to like some of the other bosses. She's relatively like she's obviously like taller than the tarnished by a lot, but still relatively like human sized, you know? Realistically, I feel like she should be the end game that any like player should strive for. Not even just burning the Erd Tree and becoming Elden Lord. Like she's definitely the peak of the game. Like that's how you know you finally beat her. Like, because if you ask anyone about Elden Ring who's played Elden Ring, Melania is gonna come up, right? So I feel like that should be what you consider beating the game, not like the Elden Beast and Radagon. But I'm gonna give her like a 10 out of 10 simply because like every time somebody thinks of Elden Ring, you instinctively think of Melania. So I think she definitely deserves it. Strong, without question, 10 out of 10. Thank you. Also, yeah, that was all my bosses. That was just the base game. I haven't beat the DLC yet, so there'll be a video when that happens. Thank you for watching.